even for us in a situation where we're looking for them to compete and lose in the end so they can secure that top 6 overall pick and possibly keep that pick in the NBA draft lottery in May. Man, this one was bad. And that's why we had to get started right away. While it was not 50, they were down by as many as 41 to the reserves of the OKC Thunder. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 alongside Derek Bodner for right now. Kyle Neubeck will join us shortly. I'm Devon Givens. Bree is here, and we welcome all of you in the chat with this early start. Yes, you're like, wait a minute, the game just ended. How did you guys get in here so quickly? That's why. Because the game was so bad that we had to get started right away so we can get this thing underway and discuss how bad this one was. The Oklahoma City Thunder got off to a 17-2 start to begin the basketball game. And while the Sixers did cut it to, I believe, 8 at one point after being down double digits for a long time tonight, it wasn't enough. It simply was not enough, as this basketball team was outclassed in this one tonight. Look, the effort, of course, they were out there. They were giving it a try. But look, folks, we talked about it in the pregame. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, no J-Dub, Jalen Williams, the all-star. We'll talk about the other Jalen Williams tonight. And no Lou Dort or Isaiah Hartenstein. That's 4/5 of your starting lineup not available tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And while we know 10 players out for the Philadelphia 76ers, we've seen where they competed, like they did on Monday against the Houston Rockets, and they just didn't they gave them a run where they were up by as many as 25, forcing overtime. Grimes go for a career-high 46. But Derek, tonight, we're sitting there and we're like, what's going on? As Kyle, passes the tank helmets. What's going on with this one? This was one of the, as Igavini says, fantastic work, very fast start. I meant the show. I thought he meant actually the game. Very nice work by the Sixers by getting smoked tonight by OKC. But this was one of the tougher watches that we've had.
It really was, because usually there is at least something you can point to and be like, well, that was entertaining. That was something I can project forward. They may have lost, but they gave it a good effort. This wasn't really any of them. Nobody really played all that well offensively. Maybe a little bit Justin. Quentin got some buckets toward the end, but he had an off shooting night. While the game, not that the game was competitive for all that long, but he had an off shooting night for most of the night. And the defense was just bad. And look, every now and then a team will just get hot from the perimeter. That happens. Players in the NBA are so talented that you can play good defense and they can still make shots. That wasn't really the case tonight. Their defense was really, really bad. And their frontline defense, their perimeter defense, was getting beat time and time again. When that first layer is beat, then you're in rotations. And OKC is a good enough passing team, even without their superstar in Shai, where they are going to make you pay for that. And you compound that with the fact that OKC was on fire from the perimeter. It was just a really bleh game. And it was like that even when the Sixers were making a run, and by that I mean OKC went like 6 minutes without making a shot. Even then, you never really got excited. You never thought they had a chance of stealing this game. It was just, OKC is off right now. We'll see what happens when they get hot again, and they did.
They did. They really did. And we welcome in Kyle Neubeck joining us, finishing up the story for allphly.com, his recap, posting that. And Kyle, Aaron says, Igavini says, fantastic work, very fast start. Shoot, the show. Aaron says, is this the fastest time you guys have gotten underway?
We were honestly debating going a lot earlier.
Yeah. And
start of the fourth quarter.
We just had to get some things in order to
honestly,
make sure.
We mostly just got distracted by the Texas game on the other TV is really what happened.
We were scouting.
Yeah.
But
little
yes,
Trey Johnson action.
Final score, 133-100, man. And we were just talking about how this is arguably one of the tougher watches of the season. As much as we want to see them lose these games, but being competitive is what we've liked to see even in these losses. But this one was a hard watch, especially with all the guys out on the OKC side.
Yeah, we spent a little bit of the pregame saying, well, the Thunder are going to do what they can to try to lose this game. Boy,
no,
that was all on who sat. It was not on who was out there. And it does show you the value of draft picks, of development, of committing to a direction, right? Because some of these guys for Oklahoma City are players that they have worked into successful role players over years of time now, like Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams. These are guys that have gotten real development time. And, Wiggins' contract is going to end up being probably one of the great bargains in all of the league because he's had a step forward year. He's had basically since his rookie year, after that, he's been a 39% or better 3-point shooter, has upped his scoring averages, has become a better, more consistent defender. And so that's it over a 4-year period where those first 2 seasons, Oklahoma City's not really competing for anything, but you're giving a kid like that 20 minutes a game, 18 minutes a game, whatever it is. And now when you need him to play real minutes on a contender, he's ready for that, right? And so one of the things I was struck by watching that game, and one of the positives on the Sixers end, was Chuma Okeke, right? Mm-hmm. He has a real nice 3-point shooting night, rebounded the ball well, plays well overall. And I flashed back to a conversation all of us had last summer talking about who's going to be the last guy on the roster, who's going to be some of these end-of-bench players on minimum contracts. Like, who are we looking at? Who are we hoping for as people who cover the league and know, a lot of guys that are not employed at the time? And I brought up and we discussed Chuma specifically because we said that the basic logic is, look, he has not been very good so far in his career. He has not shot the ball well. He hasn't shown the shot creation ability for himself or others. And you need him to be better defensively too. So it's like, other than that, how's the play, Mrs. Lincoln? But at the end of the day, he was still a 25-year-old with good measurables who at least has some pedigree, right? Was a really good college player who Orlando was comfortable taking with the first-round pick, despite the fact that he had a major knee injury, because they said, we'll take the flyer on the talent. We don't mind having to take basically a punt on a season. And I would always rather try to gamble on a player like that than roster 38, 39-year-old Kyle Lowry, right? Like I would rather have these guys in the system, in the pipeline, because if the guys at the end of the bench are playing anyway, you're probably going to lose. You're probably going to lose, or you're not going to succeed at the level you need to at the very least. It doesn't matter if you don't have Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, whoever it is. You're not going to cobble together enough wins with the Kyle Lowrys of the world. And so we made the case last summer, bring these young guys in, bring a Chuma in, bring a Lonnie Walker in, because at the very least, there's some untapped upside there. There's somebody that maybe you can turn into a future piece, a future rotation player. Mm-hmm. And I think the Thunder are the best example of that, right? Like, they didn't know of all these guys that they've had in, who's going to become a full-time rotation guy, who's going to survive the roster crunch. Like, one of the great examples on the other side of it is Poku, right? They took a chance on him in the draft. He did not work out at all, but they were not under pressure for him to deliver results. And so you let him play through some things, you try him in different roles, and you find out, okay, this guy isn't it, but we've been able to do that without needing to make any kind of big decisions financially or anything else. And so it shows you what a competent and thought out plan looks like from an organizational standpoint. So then when you have a game like this, yes, Chet is the featured player, but they have all these other guys that can come in and step in and play real minutes and still dominate a shorthanded Sixers.
7 players in double figures tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And while the Sixers did have 5, I mean, you just look at the efficiency on the Thunder side where the Sixers shot 36.8% as a team. OKC 52.2, and the Sixers only had 5 more attempts. Both teams made threes tonight. The Sixers made 18, but 24 for OKC. You counter that when they shot 46% from 3, while the Sixers did shoot 31, getting up 57 of those shots. But the balance that you see there with OKC. I mean, you got Brandon Carlson coming in early on, and he's dropping in a couple of quick threes. He gets a layup there at the basket. He had a quick 10 for OKC, and we're like, wait a minute, who? Who is that guy? Mm-hmm. Brandon Carlson, and he comes in and he just starts dropping. He gives them 16.
I was joking you. I was like, how do you leave the long-haired white guy open from 3? Because I've set aside the scouting report. That's just like, if I see that guy in a gym, I know he's a shooter.
Right.
Like, go close out on him. And Thankfully, they did eventually, but it was too late by that point.
It was too late. But yeah, to get 16 from him, every starter scores in double figures, led by Aaron Wiggins' 26. You get a double-double, like a a triple-double from Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams. I'm watching him early on. I'm like, all right, is he going to get enough assists to get this triple-double? Probably, but let's see. He had 19, 17, and 11. 19, 17, and 11 against the 76ers tonight. That's pretty darn good.
That's not bad.
That's pretty darn good for the second Jalen Williams, the other one that gets lost in the mix for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But yes, for Okeke to play the way he had a double-double in the first half. Kyle, you're absolutely right. We all talked about him. That was the one you pulled, of course, in the offseason. And we were looking at that of a guy who can maybe give them something. And he was here for a 10-day, but they let him go. They let him go a little bit earlier. And what? Because you kept Reggie Jackson and Kyle Lowry and these guys on the roster in favor of, yes, they have guaranteed contracts. Maybe you, like Reggie Jackson, goes in a trade. But to have a player like this, you don't know if it's going to pan out, but he's still a young player with some basketball left in him. Injuries shut him down. Give him a shot. And you see if he possibly...
Yeah. Unfortunately, giving him a shot might have meant dipping into that luxury tax. It's a hard no.
Hard no.
So I'll build off wins
to put you out of the mix.
I'll build off of the initial point by saying this. This is not just about this season, right? Like some of the failures that they are going through or experiencing are because groundwork was not laid years ago, that you didn't go through things years ago, right? Like
one of the guys on Oklahoma City is on Oklahoma City because your coach refused to play him despite the fact that he was a promising
correct.
player.
So like Aaron Wiggins, 55th overall pick, right? Jalen Williams, I believe, was a second rounder, 34th overall. Like these are not guys that were like, hey, they took
blue chip
top 10. They're blue chip guys. We know they're part of the future. These are guys that they brought in and were given a chance, right? And so when I go back to, and this is a guy who was given a chance, right? Like Paul Reed, for his flaws, was a success story for the organization, right? A guy who was a second round pick who became a at least semi-reliable role player. And you got to see him go through the ups and downs to some extent. But think of how much earlier they might have known, like, we're going to hit the eject button on him if they hadn't spent time playing Paul Millsap, DeAndre Jordan, and guys like that as backup centers instead of just letting Paul go through the experience of you're the backup center and everything that entails. You have to play those minutes. It doesn't matter how bad it looks. We're going to have to eat some losses or some lost minutes here and there. The Stars can make up for that. We're going to play you now. And maybe they don't give him that contract or agree to that contract that they had to give him or match after Utah enticed him. But those are the types of decisions you have to make sooner rather than later. We need to play young players. We need to have guys in the developmental pipeline that are every night players, not guys that are playing every other week after the veterans fail miserably. You want to have guys who are in that 22 to 27 range, constantly in the mix, constantly finding out, okay, is this guy ready for this season? Do we see something in him for next season? And then eventually, when you do have the blue chip talent, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Joel Embiid, the Tyrese Maxey, the Anthony Edwards, whoever it is for your organization, those guys are already in place. You don't have to go out and find them. You're not at the deadline as Sam Presti saying, boy, I got to trade 3 first-round picks because we don't have shooting or we don't have a 3-and-D guy. We have it in-house, but you have to actually make that an organizational priority instead of shuffling in, 32 and older veterans to come and play here all the time.
Well, even beyond that, you don't have to trade 3 second-round picks for Buddy Hield. You don't have to trade 2 second-round picks for who was the point guard the previous year? George Hill. You don't have to do that because you've developed your talent. And that's why when we were talking about, tanking a week or two ago, they all blend together. But part of the goal here isn't just to lose games, it's to give people like Justin Edwards specifically a long runway. So you can see what he has. So you can pencil him in, at least with a little more clarity, into next year's rotation. So some of the stuff that Kyle's talking about not having to go out there and give up draft picks to get your supplementary pieces, you already have that developed. You have some knowledge of what they can be and what they can become. And to their credit, I actually think they've done a better job of that. Part of it's because they were forced into it, especially with the way Justin is playing and the way that the season has gone out. But like they pivoted to McCain pretty quickly, so I do give them some credit for that. It just needed to be something that happened over the previous, I don't know, like 7 years, and they just failed miserably at.
All right, let's take a quick break. We come right back, and here's what we have for you tonight. Of course, player of the game. We'll get to that. We'll see where we go on that one with the player of the game tonight. We also will have, with the conversation here tonight, we'll have our Ace Hardware. He's heating up and cooling off. We'll have that for you tonight as well. We will get into some of the other things a little bit later, like the NCAA tournament. We'll get into the Tankathon spin from Derek a little bit later on. And we have it all.
Worse than last night.
There you go. And then we have it all for you. And the tank watch of the games that were in play tonight. We have a new entry in the tank watch that Bree has put on the list tonight for the tank watch.
Ooh,
we'll tell you who that is.
I'm intrigued.
How that game fared tonight in the association. Sixers get blown out 133-100 to the reserves of the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're talking about it right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365.
First up, we want to tell you about one of our relatively new friends, not completely new, but relatively new friends here, and that is Timeline. The cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. I felt a little more refreshed during our Papa Shot games today. It's really working. The patented ingredient in Timeline is Midipure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears our dysfunctional mitochondria, aka your cell's battery packs. With regular use, you'll see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, more endurance, and more. Midipure recharges your cells and helps your body's systems to work better. Midipure is the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level, and Midipure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. So get ready to be the best, most energized, most revitalized version of you. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of Midipure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY today to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY.
Folks, we did it tonight. Bet365.
Gambling Givens, baby.
We got it right. We got it right. Quentin Grimes with that over 23.5. No worries. He ends up with 28, although he needed a few buckets there at the end with a three-pointer, pull-up jumper, and a steal for that 28 tonight to get over that 23.5. And we also had Chet Holmgren over 15-plus points. And tonight, he was fantastic as well as the lead guy, finishing with 19 points. So we hit on that one. I saw that Jess in the chat a little bit earlier as we were signing off. She said she tailed that one. Well, Jess, we got that right at Bet365 tonight. And that's what we do here because as a member and one of the 90 million users worldwide, it's very easy to navigate the app, get things involved going at Bet365. They have the live streams of over 780,000 events a year, including the NBA and the NHL, where they offer early payout offers, pioneering live in-game betting. So as we get things going here with the start of the tournament, you know how games go back and forth in the tournament, and you might want to be able to jump in with the live betting at Bet365. They offer the widest range of games and markets available for the live in-game betting across 78 sports. So if it's the NBA tonight and the one game left with Texas and Xavier right now in college basketball, maybe you use and jump right in there at Bet365 to jump in. And tomorrow to start off the tournament, 12 o'clock start. It's always the best weekend starting from Thursday through Sunday. You get things going tomorrow. You get a 30% profit boost as well at Bet365 on any of the college basketball games. Here's what you do. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up. Use code PHLY365 when you do deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. And remember, if you pick the national championship, that's considered the future. So do that right now at Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. And Yeah, so Kyle, with this one, looking at this game tonight and just how things played out, I mean, just the way that they jumped out on them and how we use the thumbnail as just outclassed. You could see the significant difference, just to continue off of the conversation that we were having about the development and all of that stuff that we were discussing, but just the way in which they handled it. And you can see Mark Daniel, as we were talking about, maybe he had a conversation with Sam Presti right before the game and even at halftime, somewhere around there. But no, man, just outclassed because of the differences, with all due respect, with how things are going with both of these organizations.
Yeah, and look, it's a different version of some of what we've talked about recently, right? Where you can catch veteran teams at the end of the season, whether it's a tanking team, whether it's a team headed for the playoffs, whatever it is. The month of March and early April are really weird for trying to predict NBA results. So you get a lot of funky wins and losses on both ends. But the Thunder are a team that are like laser focused on winning every game, trying to position themselves best for contention. And so they come out tonight with just absolute killer mentality, right? Like they're up double digits fairly early. I think it was 10-0 at the first time out. Yeah. And that was, other than that run that Derek brought up where it felt like they didn't score for like 5-6 minutes, that was really the only lull of the game. And I didn't think that was because the Thunder stopped trying or weren't focusing or whatever it is. The Sixers had a decent defensive stretch and had them playing in half court often. But the problem with playing the Thunder is that they are such a good and deep defensive team that they will eventually turn you over. They will eventually get out in transition, and then they score on you quick. They turn those turnovers into fast break points, and then they're back and set. And so, whatever weaknesses they have with personnel who's available for tonight's game, right? Like they don't have their main stopper in Lou Dort. They don't have Isaiah Hartenstein, who he had some bulk around the rim, and certainly he's a rebounding presence. All of that just kind of falls away because you have these long switchable players. They're all engaged. They all understand their roles. Like it's just such a delight to watch them play. Now, some people are not enamored with SGA for whatever reason. He gets a little bit of the same flack that Joel used to for the grifting and the foul baiting and all that. And that is a little bit of his game, but it is not anywhere close to the full thing. And I think you just saw tonight that they have a tremendous two-way ceiling, right? Because we know that they're the number one defense in the league, and that is kind of their calling card. That's how they will win a title if they win one.
And it's by a mile, too.
They are comfortably the best defensive team. And some of their questions are, how does this team execute in the half court? Like if you're able to slow down or take away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, how does that impact your ability to score at the highest levels in, a second round conference finals type series? Well, when you have a bunch of guys who can spread it out and shoot it, that sure helps. So I'm always tremendously impressed when I watch them play. It certainly helps when you win by 33 points and most of your guys out there are backups, save for Chet Holmgren. But it's just a awesome basketball team. And you can see exactly why all of us were super bullish on this team before the season. And I think we've only grown, more confident in how we feel about them as an organization.
Yeah. No, it's really easy to look at Shai and focus on what they do offensively. But to Kyle's point, they're not only the number one ranked defense in the league, but the gap between 1 and 2 is the same as the gap between 2 and 10. So they are a huge, huge jump ahead of anyone else in the league. They've been like that all season long. That has been their calling card, but they also have an MVP offensively. Wasn't out there tonight, but they have an MVP caliber player offensively. They move the ball well. They shoot well. They are just a really good, really deep team without any real, easily identifiable fatal flaws. It might come down to they just don't have the experience. They haven't been in those big moments yet. They could run into a series where they just get cold from the perimeter, but their defense will keep it in it. Their ability to force turnovers, get out in the break, will give them a chance even during an off game or an off series. They're a real fun team to watch, and that's part of why it was a little bit of a bummer that you didn't get a chance to watch them full strength, and they were resting guys, which understandable. I'd be doing it if I ever covered a team that was 56-12 or whatever the heck they are. I'd be yelling at them to rest guys and get ready for the playoffs too. So you understand why, but I really wanted to watch them at full strength.
Well, we are going to watch him full strength a lot in the playoffs. Just
Yeah.
we'll get a chance to see that. And, but that's also the beauty of it, though, is that for them to still play this clean way of basketball without those players, without the all-stars, without the other starters that we know mean so much to their success, but to watch those other players buy into what the system is, still execute the plays, being able to take guys off the dribble. Yes, they had like 2 shot clock violations. You give credit to the Sixers for the defense that they played on those possessions. I think it was Justin Edwards and Quentin Grimes on 2 individual possessions, forcing them into a spot. But the reserves to be able to play that way and still look like the Oklahoma City Thunder, it just wasn't number 2, number 8, 55, and 5 out there, and 22 when you look at Kason Wallace. But for the other guys to level up, Adam Flagler coming in and playing, although he was 2 for 9 from the floor, he looked like he belonged out there, at least against this particular Sixers group. Right. And seeing when we talked about Carlson, he went to Utah, but we didn't know much about him, and quite frankly forgot that he was even on this roster playing for this OKC team. But the development, the way that they go about their business and get it done. Kendrick Williams is now a rotational player again. For a while when he was there at the time where they weren't good, they were still rebuilding, he was one of their vets that's on the roster. He's still there. So he's reaping the benefits of the things that happened prior to where he is right now. And he's done really well playing in his role with this Oklahoma City Thunder team, and he had 13 tonight. So, I mean, just to look at that and how this one went, just a tough watch overall. The Sixers were down by as many as 41 points in this one. And I said to Derek before we got started while Kyle was finishing up his recap, was it ever 50? Because it just felt like that tonight, even though it was 41.
It got close. It was 40-something. I don't know. I'd have to double check what the...
Yeah, it was definitely 41, but it just felt like 50 in this one tonight. And that's just how tough a watch this was. Look, we gave them credit for what they did on Monday against the Houston Rockets. And we know it's tough for them to do what they did against Dallas, winning, and then number 2, coming into this situation, in situation on Monday and taking that Houston team to overtime. They're not very good. We know that. This is what we've asked of them, to give the effort. And it's not that they didn't give the effort. This team was just that much better. The coaching was better. The system is better. And the development, as you guys talked about, just played things out the way that it did for them to be in this particular spot. So that's why this one was just a really, really difficult watch.
I just want to say, because we have some people who are audio-only listeners, it is a great time to plug that, we are on YouTube. You get a chance to interact with some of the people watching the show, both in real time and then catch up with that later. And every now and then you get to see Kyle really going ham on the chat. And every time I see Neil type a message, I look over and Kyle having a little back and forth. It's fun. You can do that with the hosts on the show. You can do that with other people watching the show.
Look at
live.
Derek.
Stop by. Hit the bell icon.
Yeah, Neil's just trolling about MVP. So
he's always been pro Jokic. Show. He's every
I'm not even anti Jokic. I just think it's like, if you can't get within 12 wins of the guy who is a similarly valued MVP
if you are
candidate,
listening to this show after the fact, you have a chance to come in and troll the hosts live. It's a great selling point.
Is there an argument against SGA of why he shouldn't win?
Just that Jokic is incredible.
So there's no reason why SGA shouldn't win it.
Truthfully, didn't mean to make this a Jokic SGA debate. I just wanted to
but my
snarkily plug
thing is
the fact that we have a
arguments
YouTube
all the
show.
time is like when it was the OKC. I mean, when it was Jokic and Embiid thing, it was always, well, Embiid can't do this, Embiid doesn't do that, and he's ducking them in the regular season, right? These are the reasons why. What's the knock on Shai here? Is there a knock?
There's no knock.
There shouldn't be.
There's people who prefer.
There's
Jokic.
no knock on either.
Yeah, there really.
No, I know.
The way I always frame MVP is, it has to be one of the best players in the league, and I want it to be on one of the best teams in the league. And if Jokic's team was better, if he was able to lead them to more wins, it would be more of a conversation for me. But I don't think it's that close, because you can't. It's the issue. I have a multitude of issues with the Jokic for MVP case this year. Derek heard me yell about this the other night when we're just like sitting around talking about stuff. One of them, which I'm getting into in the chat with Neil a little bit, is Jokic is, and we see this through the stats, we see this through advanced metrics, whatever. Jokic is billed as like, this guy makes everybody better. And like, I don't even disagree with that, right? But if the idea is that he is so much better than everyone else at making his teammates better, then why are they 12 wins behind the Thunder, right? Like if he is that big of a difference maker, there shouldn't be that much of a gap. You can't give him, like when LeBron had that reputation, the Cavs were winning like 63 games with Boobie Gibson and Zildrunas Ilgauskas and like whatever. And granted, they're playing in the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference at that time, there are not that many teams. But like when that is a central pillar of your MVP case, then you can't also say the gap in the teams and the team success doesn't matter. You don't have to agree on, like, I view team success as an important thing to at least weigh when you talk about MVP debates, right?
Sure.
It's not the decisive thing for me. Like, there were Joel Jokic MVP debates that I think Jokic had the upper hand on and deservedly won, because while his team was slightly worse, you're talking about a few games, right? Like 3 wins or 4 wins or something like that. That's not super meaningful to me. When you are head and shoulders better, I don't know how to square that circle. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, I think SGA is the MVP this year, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I'm just going to be flat up.
All.
I have voter fatigue. I'm sick of seeing the same guy win 4 out of 5 years.
The other part
And
of it,
also, Shai is having an MVP caliber season on a team that is incredible, and it would be his first time, and he's clearly the better two-way player. Look, I think Jokic is the best player in the league, and he's having quite possibly the best season of his career. And I don't hold the lack of team success against him that much, because I think the roster difference is huge. Like, OKC is a much better roster, and quite frankly, to get a championship out of that group, like I was talking about this the other day, when was the last time a team won a championship where only one player on the roster even made an all-star game? It's very rare. It's very, very rare. I think that team's been pretty flawed, especially over the last 2 years when they started to get into cap hell. That being said, Shai has been incredible. Shai has made a huge leap year after year after year. OKC has been the best team by far. Like, it would be one thing if it was like 5-game difference, or even like 7 or 8 game difference. When you start talking about 12 games, yeah, I'll reward when it's a neck.
It really is crazy. It's like, that's a huge difference.
And that wouldn't be like the basis of it. But when I have 2 people pretty much tied, I think it's valid to use that as a tiebreaker. While I will concede Neil's point that, like, if you swap them, yeah, I think Jokic on OKC has a much better record than Shai on Denver.
Would they still be the number 1 defensive team in the league?
No.
They wouldn't even be close.
But they would be the number 1 offensive team.
Sure. But I don't know. I don't think they're as good as they are. I just don't.
I think they're close. I mean, you have to completely reconstruct the team. The point is, the OKC is way deeper and way more talented overall.
Yeah. I don't know why
There's 2 right choices. This is why for the most part, I don't care about MVP debates, because it's like you're picking between 2 players. Even when it was back in Embiid and Jokic, by the way, I picked Jokic the first 2 years, even though it was against Embiid. I don't really care, because like you've got one of the 2 best players in the world.
They're both deserving.
Yeah.
Just one is gonna win, one isn't, and there's nothing wrong with SGA winning this year with the way that things are going. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We come right back. We got a lot to get to, from the play of the game, our tournament picks, our tank watch as well, and our Ace Hardware heating up, cooling off segment when we get back on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show. Sixers lose by 33 to the Thunder Reserves. It's all presented by Bet365.
Well, speaking of Ace Hardware,
yes,
they've got some home services for you. Isn't that great? Isn't that a perfect segue, Devon? Just we can talk about our good friends at Ace Hardware. Do you guys have a leaky pipe at home? At Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person to do the fixing. You have an air conditioning issue? They've got a person for that. Do you have a faucet you said you'd fix last fall? They've got that person too, because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home service and repair folks. Now, if you have a broken defense, they won't send Nikola Jokic, I'll tell you that much. But from plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services is bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door. And let me tell you, I'm coming up on, I believe it's 2 years as a homeowner, and you don't know what you don't know until things start breaking, and it's not calling your landlord or asking mom and dad, and it's all on you to figure out what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and how much it's going to cost. Here's where you go. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
See, I'm on the other side of getting things fixed if they're broken. I'm with the Rothman Orthopedic side. Hopefully you don't break it. Maybe it's just a little bit of a strain or something along, or a sprain, and a little tweak here and there that you want to get checked out. Even with those, the serious but a little bit less serious than the broken bones or the torn ligaments, Rothman Orthopedics, they have you covered, because they have you covered with everything that you need, from aching joints, cramping hands, your back may be out of whack. Rothman's got you covered. And at Rothman Orthopedics, they practice and specialize in care, and that has been their passion for over 50 years. Since 1970, their physicians have remained committed to research, innovation, and minimally invasive procedures to get you back to what you specialize in. They are Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. In the surrounding area, Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers as well. It's not just the volume of the 255,000 of new patients and consults that Rothman is most proud of, but instead it's their commitment to improving each of those patients' lives through their service and their care. Rothman Orthopedics, they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make your appointment today. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Let's get to our Ace Hardware heating up, cooling off segment with Ace Hardware, the temperature check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Do we give it to Okeke tonight, heating up a little bit?
Well, I guess it depends on who your player of the game is. Do we normally go 50-50 on these, right? Like somebody gets the temp check, excuse me, and somebody gets the player of the game?
Well, I think that's why we went with the heating up, since the player of the game is normally the player of the game guy. So let's go with the heating up for Chuma Okeke.
All right.
Yeah. Fantastic night off the bench. Double-double in the first
microwave
half.
night. He's really heating up.
Listen, he had first 3 threes. He wound up being from the three-point line tonight 4 for 5. He made his first 3, and he was 5 for 6 from the floor. He played 37 minutes, Derek.
Yeah.
37 minutes for his 14, his 15, 2 assists, 1 block shot. No personal foul, so he didn't get in any trouble there. But 7 offensive boards for Chuma Okeke. So he was giving them some extra possessions, and that's what helped him early on with that double-double of 14 and 15 tonight. And he heated up tonight.
Imagine if before the season you would say this, that Chuma Okeke was your player of the game in a mid-March game.
Well, we haven't said he's player of the game yet.
That's true.
We just said he's heating up.
Heating up.
He definitely is. And he came out right from the jump, making his shots, hustling.
First of all, he was late. He couldn't figure it out at the scorer's table. They already buzzed
Yeah.
him in to come in the game. He has his back. He's at the scorer's table. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he wants some gum. I don't know what he's doing. And they're like, yeah, he's kind of holding up the game.
Yeah.
And then he comes right in and knocks down a 3.
Maybe he was getting one of Joe's Jolly Ranchers.
Very
Those
true.
Jolly Ranchers that Joe was always eating in game.
Yeah.
He had
I don't
one
remember,
candy. It doesn't
honestly.
At the
matter.
table, yeah.
He definitely had his sweets, though. That's for damn sure.
No, he's playing real well. And if he continues to make that shot, and look, we all have questions over that shot, but when he's making that shot, we know he's going to hustle. Like, that's clear. And we know he has a physicality where he's going to get those boards at times. But it was in a game that was really tough to watch for most of the night. You look towards people who are giving that kind of effort. And for all the Sixers' faults, like, I thought their effort was mostly okay. And he certainly exemplified that.
Yeah.
You just have to try to believe that Okeke's G League numbers are somewhat real, right? Because, I mean, we always talk about it on the show. We look at some of these stats, and it's like, that guy took how many threes?
Yeah.
And that guy made how many layups and dunks and whatnot? He's taken 9 threes a game in the G League this year, which is preposterous. We're talking about a guy who, first 2 seasons in the league, I think he was below average to like right around average from 3. Last 2, he's been struggling, well, including this one. Last season in limited minutes, and then this year in limited minutes. Not good numbers up until tonight. So you just have to hope it happens for him at some point. And he's 26 now. So there are probably a lot of
Yes.
teams that are saying like, he's never going to get there, and he just is who he is. And if you're a guy who can't really create, can't shoot, and defensively he's decent, but it's more tools than it is actual impact, it's hard to find a role for you. But I did really love watching him in college that year he was there. So like, you want him to make it. You want him to turn into something. Give him a chance the rest of this year, and we'll see what happens. But he's certainly heating up. It was a good game for him. And like, even if you took out the shooting tonight, the approach is what we were really happy about, right? It's just crashing the glass. Oklahoma City is a lot, I don't want to say thinner, but they were smaller and less athletic tonight. No Lou Dort, no Jalen Williams, no Hartenstein, mentioned earlier, inside as the rebounding presence. So you have an advantage there, or maybe you don't have an advantage, but you have an opportunity there. And so seize the opportunity. Really good game for him. Hopefully he's able to sustain this a little bit.
And as you were talking, I was looking at some of the highlights because I was already on ESPN, and they put up his the draft profile from when he was selected from Auburn. And just looking at the stuff, of course, his body is different. He's gained weight. He's put on some weight. But looking at these types of highlights for what he's doing and how athletic he was, the promise, of course, of putting the ball on the floor, finishing at the rim, that type of stuff, that's what you saw. And being able to do that now with the added weight on his body. But to your point about the 9 threes in the G League, he's certainly getting the message from the coaching and saying, this is how you are going to maybe succeed. Of course, the hustling and getting those. But when you're open and they leave you open, you have to take that shot and make that shot. So for him to put up that many, that's a clear message of this is what we want you to do in the league. If you can make a decent amount while still not taking away from what you were doing with the hustling part of it, you might have a chance, even turning 27 in August before the next season.
7.5 attempts per game with Westchester, made 36% of them. Now, the downside, or at least a skeptic would point out that he averaged 5.5 attempts per game back in 2022-23 and made 36.4 of them, came back out and shot 28% for the Magic the following year. So it does not, like we have seen a lot of examples where you can shoot in the G League. It's tough to translate that at this level, but he has played well. And quite frankly, he's the archetype where I hope he figures out because he's fun to watch. And he's a kind of player where if he actually has an offensive role and if he is able to make that shot with any kind of consistency, it's easy to pencil him in as a rotation player.
I do think some of the problem is the athleticism you hoped he would maintain after the injury in college has not been there as much, right? Like the first step isn't as good. And so when you take the small, even if it's a little bit of a step back athletically and the shot's not there, you just end up in absolute no man's land. So, maybe with some good health luck and just, consistent years in front of him, he can reclaim a little bit of that because he is still 26 and has, in theory, prime years ahead of him.
Yep. So Chuma Okeke signed on a 10-day contract on Sunday before the Mavericks game. So he's played 4 games, 3 games in 4 nights now for the Sixers, and he'll be on the rest of this trip for his 10-day contract. And who knows, maybe he and both Brissy gets their 10-day contracts extended to a second 10-day contract. Brizzler, also in the chat. That is our Ace Hardware Heating Up, Cooling Off segment presented by, as always, Ace Hardware Home Services. That's our temperature check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, let's get to a super chat here from Riaz saying, guys, I love that we lost, but don't you think all these tank jobs are bad for the league? What about going to the NFL model where worst record gets the top pick?
I mean, I don't think that's going to fix tanking.
Yeah, that'll make it worse because that's just, hey, if there's a LeBron or there's not another LeBron, but when there's a Wemby, a Zion, one of these, there's an Anthony Davis, there's a Cooper Flag, teams will hard sell out for that guy.
No, I mean, we've sort of touched on this in the past. Ways to fix tanking: fewer regular season games, make each game more meaningful, make free agency an actual place that teams can build not only just like 3rd or 4 stars, but foundations to your team. And, that might mean removing the max salary cap restriction. I've even I really like the idea of just making rookies free agents so that the teams with cap space can bid the most.
Hey, do you want teams in 4 cities? Because that's what that would end up.
Maybe, but let's say those teams don't have any cap space. So like a team, if you don't have a cap on there, and let's say a team like OKC, not now, but like OKC like 10 years ago, could offer Cooper Flag $25 million. I think rewarding use of cap space and rewarding good management and good planning would be a way, but that would be just too drastic. I don't think GMs or owners are comfortable giving rookies, like generational rookies, what they're actually worth, because that's a huge risk.
Yeah. To build off that, Riaz, the difference, there are many differences between the NFL and the NBA, but like one of the most significant differences is that even if you draft a grade A quarterback, right? Yeah. We saw it in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have who I think is the best quarterback I have ever watched, full stop, period, in Patrick Mahomes. And his line play was so bad that he had absolutely no chance to win that game. Now, you got all the way to the Super Bowl. You have a chance to win with Patrick Mahomes year in, year out, the same way you do with when you have a prime LeBron, you have Luka and Jokic and these like top superstars in the NBA. But like that's an outlier scenario. Even the guys who are like the fifth best quarterback, the seventh best quarterback, so guys who are equivalent to like the top 10 players, 10 most important players in the NBA, there are a lot more team building machinations that you have to go through. Whereas when you get the guy in the NBA, that is the quickest leap from if you were a 20-win team, in a year or two, you're a 45-win team if you have a legit number one, top of the draft type guy. And so it makes the incentive structure a lot different. Like you can tank for a great quarterback prospect. If you're putting them back behind a terrible offensive line, you're still probably going 3-13 or 3-14 now with the 17-game schedule. So it's just, there are a lot of other variables that go into it. The line play, the fact that offense and defense are separate is another huge thing that people don't think about, right? Where you get a two-way basketball player, an elite two-way prospect, that guy sets your floor and your ceiling on both ends of the floor, where if you draft the greatest middle linebacker, the greatest quarter, whatever it is, whatever position, that's only one position and it's only one side of the ball. Even the guys who have versatility are just like, it's probably a cornerback who also returns kicks, right? And there's still, even that, they've neutered the value or the upside in being a kick returner with all the different rules. So it's just a wildly different sport and system to try to plan around.
Yeah, no, there's two real key problems here. One, a single player in basketball can influence the game more than a single player in almost any other sport. The only real comparison, I mean, there's a couple quarterback, but there's 21 other people that you need to be able to fill out before they can really compete. Goalie, and then pretty much like a pitcher, but a pitcher only pitches 1 out of every 5 games. They have a huge impact on one game, then nothing on the next 4. There's really like a superstar, a two-way superstar in the NBA just changes the complexion of a franchise more than almost anyone else. And also the NBA makes it virtually impossible to then have those superstars change teams for like 9 years after being drafted. So teams just put a huge priority on trying to get them, and unfortunately the only way to do that is to lose games.
Actually, Jokic is just like having a quarterback. He's elite on one side of the ball. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Let's get to the player of the game here tonight. One, Quentin Grimes with another nod of player of the game. He was still really good. I mean, even though he had an off night for what we've seen for this month, he still hit his average of 28 tonight. 3 for 7 from beyond, five assists, 3 steals. So he's still passing the ball, not hijacking the offense. And from the field tonight, he was 10 for 21 to get to his 28 in 32 minutes. So Quentin Grimes, once again, player of the game. And the Sixers lost by 33. And our player of the game, as always, is brought to you by no one.
I'm going to be a dissenter on that one. I would have given it to Chuma because that was a little bit of, he was looting in a riot in that fourth quarter. That was, Quentin Grimes hit like 4 shots when they were down 38 points. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know that I necessarily would call that a good. It ends up looking good in the box score, but
yeah, I think when I last stopped paying attention, and by that I mean started watching the Texas game, I think he was like 6 for 15 and 1 for 5 from 3. So he was really struggling.
Points, sitting on that 17 overall. All right, so Quentin Grimes gets the nod. Or if you want to flip it and you guys go with Kyle and Derek and give it to Chuma, you give it to Chuma.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying he definitely had an off night.
All right, let's get to the tank watch here tonight, Bree, and see what's going on in the association right now. So far, the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks, they were going at it. San Antonio playing the Knicks, hosting the Knicks, and San Antonio tonight
took a L.
There it is. And for a while, 120-105 in favor of the Spurs getting the win. So with that win, what is that there?
Oh, I couldn't. I'm reading it reverse.
Yeah. That's their...
They're like 6 games ahead of the Sixers.
No, you're good, Brie.
Yeah, so that's 29-39 or,
I think
29-39. So the Spurs get the W there on
big
that
win
one.
for the Spurs.
Big win for the Spurs.
Even bigger win for the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think you can pretty much cross the Spurs off the list now. I don't know if the Sixers have 6 more wins left in them.
Sixers got the Spurs on Friday.
Okay.
There you go.
It's a big one.
In San Antonio, 8 o'clock start. We'll be here for 7:30 for the pregame. We get to the Pelicans and the Timberwolves for the tank watch. And the Pelicans, the Timberwolves have been hot.
They've been playing really well. Julius Randle honestly finally looks like he has figured out.
Yes.
And it's the whole team too, but he has figured out what he needs to do there because I know how Devon feels about Julius Randle, but
yes,
they have
He's
integrated
been
him finally.
He's been playing really well, and tonight Ant Edwards with 29, Randle 17 and 3 and 3, but they lose the game because you had 29 from Zion, and they had 6 players in double figures tonight. And they just played really well, and they got the win. So they are now 19-51. So on the reverse side, they are now, 4 games behind the Sixers at the moment?
And they have a meeting very soon, my friend. Next Monday.
I will say, I don't think the Pels have a good chance of catching the Sixers. But if they keep playing Zion, which they shouldn't, because of Riaz's question, draft picks matter. If they keep playing Zion, it's not 0%. It might only be like 5% chance, but it's not 0.
Well, even if they tie them, that's still split some ping pong balls. That's a big deal.
Yep. All right. And while this team, the new entry that I was telling you about, the new entry for the Tank Watch tonight, the Miami Heat have lost 9 of their last 10. 9 in a row.
Bad.
9 in a row, including tonight where they fell to the Detroit Pistons, 116-113 at home. So while the Bulls have jumped in front of them by half a game for 9, Miami is 5 games in front of Toronto. So there's really no threat there, but they have lost 9 games in a row.
I think the Bulls will probably lose tonight, and they'll be back even with them in the standings. But even still, the fact that Chicago has a chance to be higher than the 10 seed is just, and honestly, like Orlando has not exactly been blowing the doors off of teams, right? They have been pretty bad for a while. So it would be wild if the Josh Giddey experience led them to the 8 seed somehow.
Yes, Josh has been rolling. So that's the other one. And what was the other one, Bree, that we had in this one tonight that we were talking about? We've got Portland playing the Grizzlies a little bit later. And we already mentioned Miami, and Chicago plays the Phoenix Suns as well. So that's the Tank Watch tonight. Also brought to you by no one. 63-51 in favor of Phoenix over Chicago right now. Portland, 71-58 at home over the Grizz at the moment at the half. So that's another big, important one because
it's a
Portland,
good young team, man. Or at
Portland's
least in the middle of a good
39.
stretch, I should say, Portland.
We don't really have to worry about Portland probably at this point, but 30 and 39.
Thibault finally playing again, by the way.
Key block to save the game the other night against Toronto.
Unfortunately, they were hoping for a game-tying 3 at the end of regulation, and Thibault blocked it. That was his first game back.
Yep. Do you have an update on Texas? What's going on with Trey?
I did have Texas up, but I'm I'm trying to be a professional and do the show, so I haven't watched it too
You did
much.
spend like 10 minutes arguing with Neil.
67.
I did, but that's part of the job is engaging with the viewers and listeners. So it's a 2-point game.
2-point game.
Trey Johnson has 19 points on 11 shots, so hit a couple threes. He's gotten to the free throw line.
Okay.
2 assists. So Devon, he's in a passing mood. He's got 2 assists. Tight game though. So we are very invested in Texas winning this game.
No more assists. Tight game.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
He's firing the ball up the rest of the way. Another super chat from Davon, who jumped in there with the super chat saying, who would you guys want to see back next year?
Well, hopefully everyone who's
Devon and
in
Kyle.
here.
Yeah.
Yes, us 4.
Not Bree?
Us
Jeez.
Us 4, including Rich.
Wow.
We're back. Look what you did, Davon. Started something.
Vince will take you back too. Of the guys that are playing, Justin for sure.
Yeah.
Bona for sure. And that's not really in any doubt. Grimes for sure.
Is it for sure though? Like if he gets offered 25, like you matching that?
25, no. But I don't see who's giving.
I don't
him
either,
25
but like
here.
you said, for sure. So I was
there
just
will
testing
be
that.
a walk away
Okay.
for sure.
Yabusele.
Yabu, yes, but there is a walk away price.
Yeah, it's called above the taxpayer mid-level.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm increasingly convinced that there's a shot you can get him for the taxpayer.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's a man stuck between worlds. So
Yeah.
I think you could probably get him on that.
I'll just throw some names at you. Lonnie Walker, yes, no.
Hope to upgrade.
Jalen Hurts-Scafino.
No.
Training camp invite, maybe. Give him an exhibit 10.
Ricky.
Oh, God.
Goodbye, Ricky.
Go get him, Rick.
I said to you guys, and I wrote it in the recap, he's the true tank commander.
Yeah.
Boy, he is having a rough
1
go.
for 11 tonight. 0 for 8 from 3.
Ugh. 0 for 8? I didn't realize it was
0
that
for
bad.
8. The used minivan.
Alex Reese.
Alex Reese.
Derek definitely didn't know who that was, and I had to think for
I was
a minute.
like, I was thinking it was Reese, but I hadn't heard Devon say that before.
Yeah. No on Reese. I frankly have seen enough of him now, so I definitely don't need him next season.
And finally, Jeff Doughton Jr.
Nope.
All right.
No, thank you.
Yeah, got it. All right. That's enough of that one. All right, before we get to the tournament picks, let's do the Tankathon spin for the night, the daily nightly Tankathon spin from Derek Bodner. Right now, where are they sitting? In the 5th spot?
5th spot. Yep. Tied for 5 with Brooklyn.
Okay. What do we have?
4?
4.
All right, who you taking?
I mean, are we assuming that the top 3 go chalk?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still
Still
VJ.
VJ?
Still
Yeah.
BJ.
Still VJ. All right, still VJ. All right,
That's
that's
cool.
where we
I'll
are.
take that.
That's where we are. All right, right there.
And then trade Maxey. I'm just kidding, everyone. I'm just kidding. But maybe. No, that would honestly, we're going to have a lot of conversations like that if they keep the pick. I think it's like not trade Maxey, but like what do you do with everything
guards.
that's there? It's
Yeah.
a lot of resources tied up in the backcourt when you have an uncertain star center and aging Paul George.
Bree, I'm seeing a lot of people, including these guys, saying they didn't hear me say the used minivan. How long have we been saying the used minivan?
No, you've definitely said it.
Yeah.
You've said it a few times, yeah.
The used minivan, man. All right. So as we get ready to wrap things up, make sure you go sign up to allphly.com to become a member, get your free T-shirt, all that great stuff. To become a member, read Kyle's recaps on a nightly and game by game basis. The stories that these two guys
He's
write
got
up.
a column coming out tomorrow about trading Maxey.
I have a column coming out tomorrow at allphly talking about trading Maxey and bringing back Jeff Doughton. It's overtime. We got some overtime in here tonight. Not like Houston on Monday, our version of overtime. As you continue to watch, thank you for joining us on the television shot. Make sure you now go over to allphly.com to finish up on the YouTube side to watch our show as we close things out with the tournament picks and one more Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Super Chat, and also
And talking
our roll
about
call.
Texas's head coach, Giancarlo Esposito. It really is uncanny with those glasses. It's crazy.
He does, and he's a maniac. All right, so let's get to the super chat. Wouldn't mind keeping Brissett on a minimum.
Brizzler.
Let's see a little bit more. Let's see him the rest of the way, Davon.
Give him a camp invite and see where you go from there.
Yeah, I put him in the same class as Hood Scafino. I'm okay with Exhibit 10, and then see how it pans
Let the
out.
chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
All right, tournament time. It starts tomorrow. What do you think?
I think
basketball's good.
I think basketball is good too. Duke's been like almost untouchable all season. With Flag back, I wouldn't pick against them. Yeah.
But that injury, though, I don't know.
Yeah, no, look, if he's not the same, then for sure.
All right.
Who do you think's their biggest challenger?
Tennessee. I like Tennessee.
I have them in my Final Four.
Florida's real strong.
Yeah. Florida, Iowa State is my Final Four. Also, on the other side of the bracket.
I went very chalk with my Final Four.
Who's your Final Four?
Iowa State, Florida on the one side of the bracket. Okay. Duke, Tennessee on the opposite side.
I sound like an SEC football fan. They can't play the SEC, Paul. I have Florida, Auburn, Duke, Tennessee.
See, the only one I went all ones except for Auburn. I didn't completely buy into Auburn. Just the way that they finished the season left a little bit of a sour taste.
But
I also was looking through. I'm like, well, who in that South bracket do I really believe in? I ended up just going Michigan State just because I think it'd be a
Bruce
fun story.
Pearl, I feel like always kind of So I didn't feel good about that one, but it was, to your point.
Other than that, I went with the 3 number ones.
And Broom cannot make a free throw for Auburn. He just cannot. He cannot make it.
Stud defensively, though. Absolute stud defensively.
Does he translate to the NBA?
I don't know. I have to watch a little more.
A little bit too.
I took Florida to win it all.
Okay.
I agree. I have Duke in the title game because, to Derek's point, when they've been right, they're just like they're
I had Florida
above.
In the title game.
But Florida has been on an absolute heater recently, and sometimes it's just as simple as like who's playing the best going into the tournament. So I'm rolling with Florida. We'll see. I would worry about your boy Devon Jeremiah Fears in round 2 for Florida. If he's cooking like he has been lately, that's a potential upset alert in round 2. So you get by them, and then. Honestly, that was part of my trouble with picking Florida is like, so that's a tough round 2. You could potentially see Maryland in the Sweet 16. And like a lot of times you see if you get a good big man performance in the tournament and Maryland's got Queen, that can carry you a long way. So I was a little worried about that, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm not as dialed in on college basketball as I used to be other than the prospect stuff. So I'm winging it like everybody else.
Same here. I haven't been locked in as much, but when you get closer and you get to tournament play for the conferences, you really start to dial in the big matchups. You kind of peek in on as well and see what the prospects are doing overall. So my sneaky team, but I did have them falling out. I had the Elite 8. I had the Cougars of Kevin Young led Cougars.
Oh,
that team with Igor and all.
Oh yeah,
that team is playing well, and they're sneaky, pretty good. They play really good.
And that would be a great story. Kevin's a good guy. I wouldn't mind seeing him have success.
They get how do you pronounce his name? The kid from Utah, Abasanya. Is that how you pronounce his name? But
sounds right to me.
It sounds good.
You know who I'm talking about? That top recruit who decided to go to BYU. He's got a role in there. So I did have Kevin Young's team.
A player that I want to watch of the undercard teams, we'll say. Bennett starts at Drake. I've heard some good things about that. He's been he's having an outstanding season. He's somebody that potentially could be in some interesting draft conversations. And who doesn't love a scrappy white guard in the tournament, right? It's just on a team called Drake. Just seems like built for a storybook run. So that they're an 11 seed. He's averaging 19 points a game, 2 steals, 5, almost 6 assists a game, shooting 39% from 3. He's a junior. I was about to say true. He's a junior, but keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on Drake.
Yep. Were we talking about Lindenborg from UAB?
I don't think so.
No. Well, he's with the UAB Blazers. He's actually a Pennsauken kid, and they play St. Joe's tonight in the NIT. Knocked off the Joes tonight by a final score.
Unfortunate.
by 69-65 right off there on City Line Ave. And their season is over. Billy Lang's season is over. As far as Fleming goes, 18 minutes. Only 18 minutes, but he had 4 personal fouls. So I guess he had foul trouble. Yeah. So that might hurt his stock a little bit.
He was definitely in foul trouble if he played 18 minutes. Yikes.
So 6 points, 2 boards. Not his. He closed out the season not all that great. So we have to see what the intel is for him as they do their stuff as a coaching staff to help him out and figure out where things go. Xavier Brown, though, 21 on the night to lead St. Joe's in scoring, but they lose by 4. And so St. Joe's season over. Billy Lang, a lot of upset Hawks people because Billy Lang again did not make the tournament. So there's that. All right, so I did have Florida also. I agree with you. Florida knocking off Duke in the end in that Final Four. So
boy, we're boring. We went super chalk. The hottest team in the country against probably the best team in the country.
I tried some others, and I'm like, yeah, and every year it happens, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, that'll do it for us, but we have to give the world-famous roll call. As we tell you, we're off tomorrow. We're back on Friday, so we're off on Thursday.
God bless. First day of the tournament. Just get to kick back and relax, baby.
Yes, we do.
First shout out goes to Neil Deaver in the chat, Neil? Who I was giving some grief to earlier, but it's all love. It's all love to everybody who comes in here. And it's just trying to talk about hoops. Not people who are causing trouble. Not people who are coming in to be mean to our regular viewers and listeners. You come in, we can argue. It's all, as Devon likes to say, it's family business around here. So shout out to Neil. Shout out to Kyle Wright, to I Gavini, to Joaquin from Cherry Hill.
What up, Joaquin?
To my girl Winona.
Hey, Nona.
To Bootzilla, to Aaron.
What up, Aaron?
To Jess. What up to Jess?
What up, Purple Heart?
Did we get a delivery from
We got
Jess?
a delivery.
Thank you for that delivery, by the way. Jess is very thoughtful of you.
You.
Thank you to Mom's grandchildren. What up, Mom? Who said, leave Maxey alone. Mom, I apologize. It was just a little bit of having some fun. We're at the end of an hour-plus long show.
Mom, make sure you read allphly.com for that story of trading Tyrese Maxey.
Shout out to Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, with a couple of super chats here.
Yes, sir.
Toward the end of the show. Thank you to Riaz, who had another super chat for us. Thank you to John Peace.
Peace.
You better love somebody.
Love somebody. Love somebody.
Wow, that's as far as I can scroll. I have not had this up that long. I closed the tab out. Oh, look at that. Neil Deaver is back at the end, said, my wife declined relationship, so I came back. What up? What up to Shahid, who's here hanging out with us? A lot of
information to be thrown into a chat like that, but we appreciate you coming back.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
Thank you to everybody who checked in with us tonight.
Neil.
I know Val was in here for certainly at least the pregame show. I'm not sure if she was here for the postgame show, but what up to Val? Val's with us all the time. Thank you to everybody. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And please hit that thumbs up button to say thank you to super producer Bree. As always, we'll be back Friday night, Sixers Spurs. What time, Devon, for pregame?
7:30 pregame.
Sounds good. We'll see you then.
As
Until
always,
then, enjoy the tournament.
Presented by Bet365. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.